Cool. Any thoughts? I know you were just pumping all your questions into ChatGPT, so.
I wanted
Whenever I went back there, I was looking over his phone. I was looking over his shoulder. Claude. I was looking over his shoulder and I said, "Come on, dude, you're just having the ChatGPT."
No, I was asking it if we were ever to collaborate on something.
Ah.
What were the log lines for 50 movies?
Oh, okay.
I'd rather ask the audience.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Crowdsource it.
Yeah. Instead of AI source it.
All right. Shall we?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I guess actually, I love this story. Can you tell the story of how we met? It's a cute one.
Who met?
Both of us. It was on a tour of Second Life. Remember you asked?
Oh yeah. Well, no, because I made my first movie, Zeros and Ones. I was working on this movie, and it was a computer movie. The whole thing takes place inside of an operating system, and I was like, is anybody else doing anything like that? Like making movies about computers or with computers or inside of computers? And then I found all these great people, and like you and Petra and Dan and Nick and stuff. And I messaged you and I said, "Oh my God, this is incredible. Kool-Aid Man in Second Life." And he's, before they even had the term machinima, or like people were using video games to make movies, you were doing this thing where you were embodying a character going through these like spaces. And I was like, yes, I found a person.
And then I told him to meet me in Second Life, and that's
Really?
the first time we met.
No, this is fake. This is not true. I never made a Second Life account. You're confusing me with
No.
some person.
I took you to this really crazy place in Second Life
Really?
where furries.
Okay.
There's a lot of furries in Second Life. It's like a subculture within furrydom, where they practice this fetish called vorophilia, and the fetish is the desire to either be consumed.
Yeah, vor.
Or consumed.
I remember vor.
They're soft and hard.
Vor porn. It would
Exactly.
be like, oh, I would love to get eaten by a snake.
I mean, the
Can
reason
you,
I
can
bring
you
this
imagine
up-
jerking off to, I would love to get eaten by a snake?
I mean, that's literally what it is. But
Many
it's-
such cases, I
It's
guess.
not only snakes, and that's the most obvious one. And there's hardboard, which is like being ripped apart.
John, you're lying, man. I would never make a Second Life account.
No, but you just did this to me. Could I finish the story?
Yeah, sure. Fake
and
story, sure.
The reason I bring it up because this desire to either be consumed or consumed, I feel like is a recurring theme, both as a relationship between your different characters and also to technology. And that I'm saying that because technology for both of us, and I think that's why you were interested in contacting me back then, has been this love-hate relationship where it both brings people closer together and drives us farther apart. And also, on some levels, we are ourselves consumed by the technology, and on other levels, we're constantly consuming our feeds. So
Speak for yourself. I have perfect mental health. And, no, I mean, of course, like, the circumstances of society, like, change relationships, what the dynamics of communication or love or desire or, all those meanings, like, morph when our brains and consciousness get colonized by social media or just even the haptic kind of exploitation of a smartphone, that rewires your fucking brain. So I'm glad that we're both making work about that in very different ways. But of course, like, to not grapple with that seems like irresponsible or like lazy or something.
And I think, that exact thing is which.
Remember when you did the Google Earth 9 Eyes?
I remember.
Like John has this thing where he went through like Google Earth 9 Eyes. It's like he finds like drug deals happening on Google Earth and like beautiful tableaus and stuff. And I think it was the first time ever that maybe implanted an idea in my head for this movie, John, which was like, yeah, it's so easy to say like surveillance bad, 1984 now happening. Ooh. But like actually, like we are all complicit and sign up for the surveillance. The narcissism engine is like very strong. And when I saw the 9 Eyes thing, I was like, honestly, surveillance interesting. Surveillance contains multitudes, And I've tried to keep a pretty analytical and kind of humanistic approach to technology and how it informs and amputates and expands our relationships and our lives. And I feel like you're one of the only people who's also doing that. So when I saw the Nine Eyes thing, I was like, surveillance, kind of like artistic. And so, you know, like this movie is maybe trying to figure out a way to like work through the thing that everyone would automatically say is like evil and bad. Like, you know, Vicious character, Parthik, when he says to Jay, thanks for filming me, man, you know? And then later when he realizes he's being watched on the FaceTime date, he's like, I love it, you know? Like, that is actually like the subconscious of all of us who sign up for this like narcissism panopticon. Like, we actually on some level appreciate being watched and love the attention, even if it's us doing naughty things or problematic things. Like, we saw part of the like, you know, the hard-on of like being the main character, of main character syndrome, you know?
Exactly. I mean, we all, you know, the Gen X and before that, the fear was there's going to be this big brother that's like everybody, this centralized authority that's watching over us. But in the end, we became, each one of us are just spying on each other at all times. And
yeah, I think Andy, our buddy Andy in the movie says that, who plays the crypto bro who's his buddy. He says like, it's totally normal, you know, in today's day and age, like everybody's filming everybody. So like, you know, it's normal to survey someone who's in your house.
But who's the
Anybody have a situation like this? Okay, yeah, what was your situation?
My dad would film us in the house and have cameras everywhere.
Did you know?
Eventually, yeah.
And what did you do once you found out? Were you like just like kind of being more charismatic, or did you confront him?
I just unplugged it every time I went.
Oh, you unplugged it. Every time you went to what?
Downstairs.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
the living room and it was pointing towards everything, so I
Yeah.
just unplug it. Or the key logging of the computer.
Right.
So-
Key logging. Shit. Is your dad like mildly autistic, or is he just like an authoritarian, or what do you think?
Hella conservative.
Hella conservative. What do you think he was trying to discover? Like something? Was he just curious, or was he trying to control? You think?
Sometimes we left the fridge open too long and the light would be on. He'd be like, "Can you close the fridge?"
He would be like, "Can you close the fridge?" He just sounds neurotic. I mean, he just sounds like, yeah, like your dad, I guess.
I guess off this point, one of the things that does is it changes the way in which we construct our identities. If we're, you know, if the way in which we appear to other human beings is filtered through these various medias, that completely changes not only how we construct our identities, but also how we relate to each other and how we even remember our own past.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a theme in both of our works, as you mentioned, but I feel like with you because you're dealing with human beings in the flesh, and also you have this incredible ability just to be completely vulnerable or not have any sort of fear about, you know, looking like right now, it's staring right up your nose.
No,
It's actually staring right at you.
But sometimes it's up your nose.
Don't fear it.
That you're able to, I guess you capture this chaotic humanity, even though we're dealing with the same themes. There's a certain, I don't know, humanity and vulnerability that you give that
Thank
I
you.
would love to hear your view on.
Sure. You have beautiful teeth. You have beautiful follicles and teeth. No, here's.
Just let me finish.
Okay.
It's finding that proper space between people. You know, that is a huge theme, I guess, throughout both of our works.
The space.
How do we find that proper space?
Right. Okay. Good.
John's mic's really quiet.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why.
Just talk
it's
more.
quiet to it.
I'll talk further.
Hello.
away.
Okay, I'll talk
Oh,
this
nice.
far.
Beautiful. No, two things, John. Like, I think the more kind of common idea that's apparent to everyone is that, like, the kind of signifiers of identity are easy to exploit and manipulate. At this point, everybody knows the shortcuts on, like, how to be a proper person virtually, and also how to reconcile that with IRL. And if you're savvy enough, yeah, stand up. Come on, let's tech in it, you know? If you're just talking to the mic. If you're savvy enough, like these kind of shortcuts to authenticity also are very clear to a viewer or consumer that they're completely manipulatable and stuff, and the kind of conflation between virtuality or like your day-to-day has become completely smaller, especially since COVID. I mean, COVID accelerated all that stuff. The less obvious thing, and part of the main motivation for this film was, do you guys ever get that thing where it's like 4 years ago today, and suddenly it's a picture you did not expect? Maybe it's your ex, and maybe it's your mom, or maybe it's you and you look skinnier and with more hair or something, and it's just completely, for lack of a better word, we used to call it a flashback, but now it's a trigger or something. Or we used to be called Proustian, which was almost like an elevated thing, and now it's just like triggering trauma or whatever. But you know, when you get that, it is an interesting like recontextualization of a lived experience, because we've offloaded our memories and thus our identities onto these clouds and these virtual platforms, and we don't have the time to process them in the moment. So actually, our time to process them even more powerfully is when they like invade our lives unexpectedly. And so I wanted to make a film where you watched it almost like a structural film, but narrative, where you watched most of it and you're like, I understand the context for this fight, or for this frustration, or for this, you know, little detail that doesn't seem to matter, like a random guy like emasculating, or like, you know, huffing air or whatever, something that seems really stupid. And then later it's completely recontextualized in this way by being mediated as actually being a clue or something that can bring them together, whereas in the initial stage it seemed like it was tearing them apart. Like I thought, like, how do you, if our identities and memories are being offloaded to these spaces, could they then be recontextualized for some meaning that was different or better or hopeful? You know, and I do think that happens in all our lives. At least I think we do try to then, when we see these like assaults, these unexpected like mnemonic assaults, we try to like lend them some sort of like resolution or like positive spin, you know, if that makes any sense. Okay.
No, it totally does. Another thing that, I mean, on that point, the formal structure of your films, I feel like there's a through line throughout that has crystallized, I feel like, in this film.
You hear?
I feel like you found that language, and it's like, it's there. Could you talk a little bit about, you know, your interest in keeping it to the camera phone, the webcam? You know,
yeah. I call it, I mean, you know, it's kind of found footage, but I call it diegetic cinema, where the characters are the filmmakers. But to me, the key difference that I hadn't seen in a movie was this idea of foregrounding the edit, you know, like, and John, I know you're a filmmaker and you care about these things, and I'm sure there are many filmmakers in the audience, but I finally thought we reached like a critical mass in culture where basically every layperson understood like the edit process because of like CapCut and whatever, TikTok and shit. Is my fly down or something? Okay, good. I touched it, it's up. You know, like basically the most hidden element of, it is down? Okay, I don't know. I know my ass is wet, Jesus Christ. We reached this moment in culture where the most hidden element of filmmaking, the edit, became really clear and understood by everyone. So I did want to inject that into a kind of found footage environment so people could think about a destabilized narrative or who is in control of the story. Because we live in a destabilized narrative culture where we're constantly saying, well, is that the real thing? Is that the real thing? There is no more real thing. We just understand there's these different operators of like story control. And to explicitly make a movie about editorial control felt like a really good idea to me formally. So that's my attempt to answer your question. Like, yeah.
But what's the process? So you basically set up all these cameras. There's no storyboard, right? You're creating a situation where everything's being filmed and then you construct it in the edit.
Not exactly. There are some storyboards when they're like bigger set pieces, but also with the cinematographer Bart, we had Excel spreadsheets and we went through all the different cameras. And you know, the movie's like an accordion. It starts with like the most basic burger, vertical mirror, selfie, banal, out of focus garbage shot, and it ends with a drone in the desert and a kind of eyes wide shut, like, you know, traditional cinema mode. You know, and in between it goes through these like stages of like, you know, maximalist schizophrenia and different kind of, you know, camera sources and shit like that. So there was an arc to it, and there was some compositional. I do think about like, you know, mise en scène, the traditional photographic image is not the only way to fill a screen. I'm trying to kind of update mise en scène for like an era where we constantly have to look at multiple windows, text, music all at the same time. Should we let them ask a question?
I was about to say.
Perfect.
Questions from the audience.
Go ahead.
What was your experience during COVID?
Mine?
Yeah.
I had 3 relationships. One of them I met someone, I got married 5 days later, and then in Vegas, and then we got annulled. I had a long distance relationship, a relationship that fell apart at the beginning. Stuff like that. Went to the desert a bunch. Went to Joshua Tree. Went to stuff like this. I got the shot. I got the vax. I had a lot of energy. Then I went home. I had crazy diarrhea, crazy nightmares. So stuff that's in the movies, stuff that I observe happening to other people. People move in together. They move out. Things disappear.
Speak to why you thought it was important to. Make
Some of my friends got canceled. Some of my friends made crypto. Stuff like that.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Go ahead.
So, if there's no script and it's all spontaneous.
What was that?
If there's like no script.
Well, why would you
and it's
assume
all
that?
spontaneous, how much of it is autobiographical?
Well, why would you assume that? This is a 100-page scripted, like absolutely scripted movie. It's my most scripted movie. Did it feel like to you it's completely improvised?
I just thought that's what you were saying. I was just wondering how it happened.
When did I say that?
You know, I'm not exactly sure.
No. I only asked this. I appreciate you saying that. Like, my dream in life is to make a movie, and maybe I did say it. I'm sorry, I don't remember. But my dream in life is like when I was a little kid, I watched a fucking movie or you watch TV, and you just think the actors are making this shit up. You just think this is good. Oh, it's just coming out of they're so interesting, these characters. And if I can make a movie, I'm not saying you're saying that, but let me just make my logical leap. If that's how it feels watching the movie, that it's all improvised and they're just making it up, that's my dream. So let me live my dream. Okay.
Just also about COVID, most people would feel that it would be like, who wants to make a movie about COVID? That's the general feeling I have right now. It's cringe, or it's just like, it's a time we want to forget. What made you feel like you needed to make this movie? I think it's brave that you did on some levels.
Thank you, John, for calling me brave. His mic's a little low. He just called me brave. If you couldn't hear that. Yeah, it seems really obvious. Like, how many events do we get? How many experiences do we get that the entire world went through? Like lockdown, COVID. Everybody in the world went through that. Not everybody goes through whatever lived experiences that are, kind of siloed into our culture now. It's a shared experience. It's great for an artist to grapple with that, make fun of it, find the emotion in it, find the set pieces, find the art in how to talk about that. That's like an awesome opportunity for an artist. I encourage every artist who's a good artist, to make something about COVID. Like, you remember masks on the ground, guys? Remember seeing masks littered on the ground? Well, I'm glad I have that in a fucking movie, because that shit gets memory hold. If you don't put that in a movie, no one's gonna remember the hilarity of masks on the ground. So good. I'm lucky that motherfuckers aren't out there making 20 COVID movies. Any other questions out there? I know it's late, I know it's a Monday. Yeah, go ahead.
This is my second time watching it.
Good.
I'm curious, after seeing it the second
How many
time,
second timers out there? Okay, like 6. Nice, cool.
I'm curious though, how much of the film was improvised? Because it seemed like part of it was written, but some of it does seem like you might have added it afterwards.
Yeah, like maybe 10%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like my other movies are like 70, 80% improvised. Like Wonderful Cloud, Wobble. It's like 10%.
And also, did you make John's mic quieter on purpose?
I don't control the mics. I'm happy to switch with them. Yeah, I get it. I know. I'm like a performer. I project and shit.
Okay, good. Wow.
Wow,
Really
beautiful.
easy.
He's got the power.
My voice.
He's got the power. Yes, question over there?
What was your budget?
Oh, it's like probably more than it should have been, but less than like a real movie, Way less. What do you think it was? Do you know anything about making films?
Probably not, like $750 to 1.
No, way less than that. Yeah. You mean $750 to $1,000, or $750,000 to 1?
50 cents to 1.
No, more than that. Yeah, but less than $750K to 1 million. Go ahead.
Oh, hi.
Hey, what's up?
I'm curious, what was the biggest challenge of creating the film?
Yeah, every movie's mad hard.
Yeah, but like, was there some?
Well, we had to recreate COVID, actors trusting you, using fucking cameras from Temu that aren't meant to be used for movies. You can't monitor it. All the car scenes, like when Dasha's character gives Peter fellatio, there's no way to monitor that. So, he's deeply in character. He's super method. So he's taking his hands off the wheel. He's letting Tesla do the driving. He's getting it, getting it good. So he's putting his fucking foot on the pedal. They're going 110 miles an hour. I'm in the trunk with no seatbelt, no nothing, listening to the performances, praying to God that the tech keeps me alive, So everything's like kind of a challenge. The tram, when they go up to the hiking, they told us till the day before that we were okay, all good, cleared. Then they called us at like 9 p.m. You can't come. So then we had to sneak in. Basically, the whole crew put on COVID masks, and we created a scene. They stopped our sound guys, so there's no real sound. Then, of course, we're only up there for one day, so like when he has to watch the footage while he's trying to figure out the clue, we have to edit that during lunch. In the lunch, I have to pick the take, which is the take of Jay and Celine saying, "I love you," and like, aw, and then vomiting. I have to pick that like in 10 minutes during lunch and edit it to get Tucker's somewhere here. Remember that, Tucker? Yeah. Thanks, buddy. You did a great job. Tucker's one of our editors. You did a great job, man. For real. You're a genius.
Thank you. Save it for Mike.
For real. You are, what do you mean? I did say it to the mic. Okay, like one or two more questions. Everyone wants to leave and they're trying to be polite. Okay, in the back there.
Okay, so when you were writing this script, did you write it completely and then decide which cameras and how many cameras were on screen at one point in time? Or was that kind of as you were writing, you were deciding on how it would look at the same time? There's just so many different.
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing that was very clear to me when I was writing is the like puzzle element and the clues. So I had to reverse engineer all these fucking numbers, because those were the coordinates to get him to Joshua Tree. So that element's very kind of integral. And then, like I said earlier, I want to do something that started with the most banal, kind of narcissistic, shitty vertical footage, and then kind of accordion it between like traditional kind of documentary modes, and then all the surveillance angles, and then the second layer of hidden surveillance angles, and then, just really go there and then end with something that was more traditionally like in cinema mode and kind of like flatter affect and all this stuff. And I did write a lot of that in, like, oh, there's a smoke detector cam, and there's spy glasses, and all that's in the script. I've been experimenting with spy glasses for like a year before I was writing the script. And then, of course, like everything, the writing is the first writing phase, the filming is the second writing, from prepping is the second writing phase, and the edit is the third writing phase. So you just discover things and go from there. I mean, it's collaborative, and it's also like the vision you have, and then everyone adds to it and makes it better and stuff like that. Sorry, does that answer your question, kind of?
Yeah, that answers it.
Yeah. Temu. Right there?
Given that we're like in the age of performance, and there's a generation coming up that lives essentially with a camera in front of them.
Yeah.
99% of their life.
Yep.
How do you think that generation of people, like when they come up, if they want to go into acting, how do you think that would change the way that they act in front of an actual like camera for a film or TV show?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually have observed that. Like when I started making, the question was how will living in a performative age like affect performance in professional acting? I remember when I first started making films and you'd ask someone who either was professional or just like an amateur or not, or didn't care about acting, they would be so excited to be like in a film. And since we've been colonized by this idea of like performing for attention in all of our lives, we've become brand managers. We are really concerned with the optics and control of our performance style and how we come off to other people, and actors, and especially like non-professionals who are the real stars. So I try to find stars, are so paranoid about ceding control of their final image to a collaborator. And it's very difficult, I think, for a director to extract vulnerable or open, or kind of, what I try to do is find not the darkness, but the hidden part that people kind of usually hide in their lives. That like motivates me for character when I cast. It's really challenging. I think everyone is so fucking corporate bored in their mind controlled right now that you have to embrace people like Dasha and Peter and Ivy and Vish, who are the four main actors, who are completely transparent and vulnerable and happy to be themselves in a culture where everyone's constantly, and I have some issues, they're my close friends, and I have some issues with what they put out into the universe and stuff, but I would never want them to compromise like who they are or try to like censor themselves, because everyone is doing that, and so they're rare birds. And I'd be happy to let those birds fly, and you know, even if I don't agree with it, we all need to fly, you know, because we're really in the self-censorship and panopticon mode now. It's fucked up and it's wrong, and yeah, people, you know, there's repercussions that come with being, you know, open and being stupid and being whatever reckless with your words are treated now biblically, where they used to be treated ephemerally. Things like Twitter and social media, which are kind of are gossip and kind of like empty, are now being documented, so they're treated like legal text, whereas our mind treats them like gossip around a campfire. So there's this whole conflict and tension in culture that we haven't even grappled with morally or legally, but to find the people who still treat life like it's ephemeral, that's valuable. Yeah, sorry, it was a roundabout way of answering your question. Okay, last one over here. Or actually, there's someone back there too. Let's say your question at the same time. Just on 3. Is that okay? All right, just 1, 2, 3.
What do you think about AI?
Oh, there's another person? Do you think, no, go ahead. You got that one, John? You answer AI one. I'll answer the other one. What was it? What was your question in the back? Yeah.
Oh, me? Oh, do you think Jay and Celine were being, like, as characters, were being their authentic selves throughout the entire movie?
Okay, great. Were they being their authentic selves in the entire movie, and what do you think of AI? Okay, on 3. Ready?
They're kind of the same
1.
actors.
Well, again. 1, 2, 3.
We
So
are
the interesting
AI.
thing about that,
In the sense
the
that,
interesting thing about that is that there was a line
how
in the
many
film
people do you
where
know that
Celine
are
was
actually,
answering, you know, when she goes like,
you know,
oh,
there's all these
performance
critiques
mode,
about
or she
how
answers
AI
it
is
about
gonna
performance
take over
mode.
everything.
There was a line we
The life
cut,
is actually
which was
just
she goes,
like programmed
isn't that
already.
how everybody is now, constantly in performance mode? So if I wasn't performing, that would be fake. That was good though, Tom. Thank you guys for coming so much to the film. That means a lot. There's 3 more screenings. Tomorrow we do Q&A with Jasmine Johnson. Tell people to come, and feel free to tell your friends, rate it on Letterboxd, and all that. Thank you so much for coming out on a Monday. Thanks, John.
Thank you for having me.